Well, joining us now are authors Francine Merasty in Saskatoon and Jane Fairburn in Toronto. So thank you to the both of you for joining us today.
Hi, thank you for the invite.
Francine, I'm going to ask you to start us off here because we saw you in the video. You were there actually with your uncle Will, and both of you are residential school survivors and went on this road trip to Iskotew together. So why was this journey important for you?
Well, this journey was important for me because I just released my book and I talk about a lot of things. And one of the things I talk about is residential school. And Jane, my friend, came to join me, and it's at a critical time right now for Canada with the discovery of all the children there at the residential schools. So for me, it's a time of getting together, you know, supporting each other in this time and talking about it and trying to resolve situations, I guess, that are coming up and to support each other in our grief, because this is really a time of grief.
It's interesting you say that, Francine, as I bring in Jane to the conversation, because Jane, you wrote the foreword to Francine's new book. Why did you want to share this experience with her and Will?
Well, I think from my perspective, hearing what's recently promoted a lot in the media, not all the time, of course, but there's sort of a certain perspective about burning things down. And it's certainly my perspective, and I think I sense the perspective of many Canadians, non-Indigenous people, that building bridges is far more courageous and creative work than burning things down. So I really wanted to be there with Francine. This is a fabulous little book she has created from her own experience, and I was honored to be at her call to the bar. I'm a lawyer myself, and Francine is, and I gave her my robes at the end. So this was sort of a full circle for us, I think, coming together and being out on the land.
Mm-hmm. You know, Francine, tell us a bit about your book, this book of poetry, how it actually all came about.
So when I was working for the National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Women, I was experiencing a lot of trauma from listening to the stories, because I started there as a statement taker and then went on to become legal counsel. But as a statement taker, I would be listening to the stories of the families that lost a loved one or was missing, either missing or murdered. And it was so much trauma, and the job was really high demand. So we were busy all the time, and I didn't have time for self-care or to go see a counselor or whatever. And I remember that winter, it was a really cold winter, so we had to stay home a lot. And so with this trauma, and I'm at home, and that's how my body responded and my mind, is to start writing poetry. And if you read the book, it talks a lot about my family, where I grew up. It talks about times that are special to me, but also the difficult stuff like the MMIWG, the residential schools. And it was a healing process for me. But I didn't realize it at the time until I finished writing the poetry. That's when I realized that, you know what, I was taking care of myself through this process.
Which I'm sure many people have in mind right now in this moment of national reckoning as more discoveries are made of unmarked graves. Jane, I'm wondering about the impact this all had on you, driving from Saskatoon to Iskotew in a heritage park. Tell us what it was like for you as a non-Indigenous person on this journey with two residential school survivors, what revelations were made for you, what you learned out of it, what you take away from it.
Well, I mean, this journey with Francine, I say in the foreword, really began with her uncle Will. Actually, a couple of years before I met Francine, literally at the gates of Fort York, the historic gates of Fort York. So I mean, this isn't the first time that I had been with Will and Francine. I've been honored to be a part of their lives now for a number of years. And I suppose also, though, that this was kind of Toronto, Fort York, coming to the Saskatchewan prairie, and a deeply spiritual place for the Cree and other Indigenous nations. So that was pretty cool and pretty powerful. But coming up through those lands, leaving Saskatchewan, leaving Wanaskewin, and going up and driving through the landscape just flattens out for Eastern Canadians who haven't seen it. You've got to go. It's a fabulous experience to make that drive north, and then the rock and the trees start to appear, and the prairie kind of resolves into this beautiful forest. And I could see the peace that they had being in their traditional land. And I'm not the first one to sort of recognize this, but this country has a deep Indigenous soul, and that soul is hurting. And I think that's the point for all Canadians. Quite frankly, I think a lot of non-Indigenous Canadians are hurting right now, and they don't know what to do. And so that was beautiful for me to have that experience with them on their land and to see that deep connection that they both share. I'm writing a book myself right now, hopefully in the final stages, examining, my own ancestral role in colonization and connection to land. Quite frankly, the connection that I think all Canadians are in danger of losing at this point.
You know, Francine, so much of this country is only now coming to terms with what happened at residential schools. As someone who attended one, what do you want Canadians to understand about this experience? What do you want Canadians to take out of this moment, again, as I say, of national reckoning?
So I went to a residential school when I was 7 years old in 1987. And so as a girl of I was 7 years old. I was taken away from my home, from all the love. And it was a very lonely experience for me, the 2 years that I attended the Prince Albert Indian Residential School. And I know there's people talking that, it was good, it wasn't that bad, but no, residential schools were wrong. They took away that line of where we're passing down our information, our language, because we're very much an oral culture. So our languages are threatened right now. Our stories, our music, our drumming. There needs to be a revitalization of all those because of what the damage that residential school has done, not only to our culture, but to individuals, that lived that experience.
And Francine, before we go, I want to mention the title of your poetry. The collection is called Iskotew Iskwew?
Yeah, it's called Iskotew Iskwew. I have a book here. It's poetry of a Northern Rez Girl.
So thank you for sharing your poetry. Thank you for speaking with us today. Francine Merasty in Saskatoon, Jane Fairburn, thank you for the time. Appreciate this. And Francine, looking forward to reading your poetry.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.